Commentary. I'm Mark Allen, and today I just want to share with you a bunch of Kirby goodness. All of us have some things in our collection that just bring us some excitement and some happiness. I'm going to say joy because I reserved that for one thing and one thing only, but they do bring us a lot of excitement. They get our juices flowing about this hobby of comic books. And so I want to show you 3 Kirby projects and give you a little bit of history on a couple of them today, because I want to say at the outset, I've always been and I always will be a gigantic Stan Lee fan. But here's my stance on the whole matter of Lee and Kirby. Kirby was probably the most imaginative of the two. The most fertile imagination of the two, especially where visuality was concerned. But you can't take anything away from Stan Lee for his promotional abilities, for his exuberance and the ability to cause that exuberance to spread to other people. I mean, my goodness, the guy, I count him as one of very, very few people who almost single-handedly got comics into the mainstream after World War II. I mean, he was the one that turned college students onto comics in the 60s and 70s after comics had kind of fallen off. And so, I say all that to say, did Kirby get the raw end of creative deal? Yes, he did. But did he do it because of any evil intent on Stan Lee's part? Absolutely not. I don't believe that. I never will. But with that in mind, I only say that because things will be said, comments will probably be posted about this, about that, and just so you know, any insulting comments about anybody, myself, Stan Lee, Jack Kirby, anything like that, will be deleted. So be adults, okay? Be nice. But anyway, I wanted to just kind of point out a couple of goodies about Jack Kirby works that you may or may not know about. And if you don't, or even if you do and you don't have them and you're a Jack Kirby fan, you really need them. These are great pieces. But the first one is In the Days of the Mob. In the Days of the Mob was produced by Jack Kirby. Had a vision for a different kind of magazine than just a black and white comics magazine. He had a vision for something that was more like heavy metal. Something a little more slick, a little more flashy, a little more with color illustrations, color stories, that kind of thing. But more for grown-ups, and not necessarily what that means today, but more, just more mature reading. And that part does come through in the Days of the Mob. But he was working for DC at the time, and DC wholly created out of whole fabric Hampshire Distribution Limited. Okay, just for the distribution of In the Days of the Mob and the companion book Spirit World, the companion magazine Spirit World that Jack Kirby also produced. Now, both of these magazines, as I understand it, were supposed to be 2 issues, but both of them ceased publication after the first. I'm still trying to land me a nice copy of Spirit World. But then In the Days of the Mob is just a lot of fun. It is a fun read. Now, Kirby wanted this to be a slick color magazine like heavy metal, as I mentioned. DC saw an opportunity to do something more like creepy or eerie or something like that, and so it became black and white. Now, it is still fun to read, and if you secure a copy, you do need to you need to try to find a copy that still has the John Dillinger poster in the middle of it. All right. It takes a while to find one in high grade with that poster, but if you are patient and you stick with it, you will find it. And so here you go. You also have, obviously issue number 2 was solicited, but it never came out. So anyway, that's just kind of a story of, Jack Kirby, again, having a great idea and a publishing company kind of stepping on it, which I think DC did their fair share of, obviously. Whether you may know, you may not know, but Kirby, the idea and what Kirby was verbally told, as I understand it over the years, was that he would have his Fourth World stuff would be kind of a separate thing from the rest of the DC universe. And I've heard it said from a couple of different sources over the years that he was even it was implied that he would have offices of his own out on the West Coast. and be doing things there. But you know how rumors are and how stories get started and legends and that kind of thing. But In the Days of the Mob is a really cool offering. It is worth going out there and finding because it is a one of a kind, and it is Kirby. It is solidly Kirby, and it's a fun read, and it is cool. And it even there is one little text piece that's kind of cool that has, well, I guess there's more than one text piece. There's a text story also, but this was a more of a historical piece talking about the birth of the mob, where the mob came from the days of the Depression and such as that, and also how romanticized the mob was by media, but of course the truth was very dark. Okay, and then there is a story in there, just a 2-page text story, Funeral for a Florist. And it is a factual account in the tradition of ace reporters of the 30s. And it's actually by Mark Evanier and Steve Sherman. But anyway, it's kind of a cool piece. If you don't have that, it's a good one to go after and look for. And try to get it. Again, don't forget that Dillinger poster in the middle. All right. Now, the next one is the Silver Surfer, The Ultimate Cosmic Experience from 1978. Now, this is a book that 15, 20 years ago was even more highly sought after than it is now. And obviously I was able to get a really nice copy. I was always really happy with that. Actually, this is one of the few, it's a fireside book, and it's one of the few fireside books that I don't keep on my shelf. I keep in a bag and with a board. And so I keep it actually in a comic box. I'm not sure if I should or not, but I would really just like to preserve the gloss and the shine and the clean cover of this thing. But the story behind this book is basically that this is a historical piece in one sense, in two senses. I'll tell you the other one in a moment. But in one sense, this is really one of the first honest-to-goodness graphic novels. This was a done in one story, thick graphic novel size. It was a new original story. And you say, well, how can that be an original story? You say it's 1978. Well, here's the deal. There was a movie company that wanted to make as I understand it, a Silver Surfer movie because the rights for the Fantastic Four already resided even in '78 with another company, and so somebody wanted to make another Marvel related movie, and as I understand it, one that another Fantastic Four movie could be based on later. And so they wanted something to base it on. And so Stan Lee and Jack Kirby came together and did another Silver Surfer story, which is basically has the same themes, has the same storyline as far as Silver Surfer seeking out the Earth as a power source for Galactus, realizing that the human race had great potential and ended up, keeping Galactus from devouring the world. But at the end of the day, he ended up back with Galactus. Galactus even created a female counterpart to try to lure him back, but she doesn't survive the whole story. And so, spoiler alert, sorry, in reverse. But anyway, another historical point about this book is that it was the last collaboration between Lee and Kirby. And it wasn't really a happy one, because this was something that this was during Kirby's, coming toward the end of Kirby's second run with Marvel. After he had come back from DC and started at Marvel, did some Captain America and some Machine Man and some other things, 2001 Space Odyssey. And he had to do this, as I understand it, to finish out his contract. So Kirby put his all into it, as he did. Kirby was a workhorse, and he didn't do anything half-heartedly. I think most people know that, who know anything about comics history, and Jack Kirby. But there was a couple of insults related to it. First of all, Kirby created the Silver Surfer. The Silver Surfer is one really that came totally out of Kirby's mind. Now, yes, Stan Lee gave Silver Surfer his voice, gave him his personality in a sense, but the idea was Kirby's. The surfboard was Kirby's. His origin was Kirby's. But depending on who you listen to and who you believe, it is said that Stan Lee co-opted Jack's origin of the Silver Surfer, and that he wanted the Silver Surfer, to be an energy being, and instead of a humanoid from another world and that kind of thing. But a couple of insults to injury of this book. that Jack was kind of forced to do because he had to finish out his contract. Again, all of this is as I understand it, okay? So I'm not claiming to be a comic historian, so haters back off, okay? But Kirby's cover piece for this book, which I can only imagine would have been spectacular, and I don't think I've ever seen it, but it was replaced by a cover painting by Norm. I can't remember his first name, but the artist, the painting comic book painting artist Norm, Norem. I can't remember his last name or his first name, but it was replaced against Kirby's wishes. Kirby's cover never made it. But here's another thing: when you consider that Jack Kirby created the Silver Surfer, and that when the Silver Surfer series was put out there, that Stan didn't even give the art chores to Jack. He gave them to John Buscema, which I'm not complaining because that was some of Buscema's best work as far as I'm concerned. But you know, there were some hard feelings there. But in this very book, in this Lee Kirby, the last Lee Kirby collaboration, there was a Kirby panel that was replaced in the middle of this round panel with a John Buscema panel. That is John Buscema artwork in the midst of a bunch of Kirby work, and you can tell it if you have an eye for those two artists' work, okay? And so that was just kind of another kick in the teeth to Kirby, and it's sad, it's too bad. But again, you know, it was business, and Stan Lee made some business decisions, and he was publisher, and he had to make some decisions there. But anyway, that's a cool Jack Kirby piece. If you don't have it, it might be a great one to go out there and get. It is a great one to go out there and get. And right now, at least the last time I checked, they're not extremely high. You can actually come buy this fairly affordably, considering the historical facts of it. And one of the first graphic novels, one of the first true graphic novels, and the last collaboration between Lee and Kirby. Now, last one, and this is one that I discovered 10 years ago. And just so you know, I don't have a lot of background history on this piece. I don't know. I'm not sure what what brought it about. It is put out by Privateer Press, which I don't know much about that company either. So again, any history would be appreciated. But I'm just going to show you this. This is called Jack Kirby Masterworks, and of course this came out long before the Masterworks series by Marvel came out. This is a gigantic, over treasury size book. It is just beautiful. It is the best way to showcase the art of Jack Kirby. On the back is a black and white Silver Surfer illustration. It was published by Privateer Press in 1979, and so just a year after the Silver Surfer book. Just has some great Kirby illustrations. I'm not going to show them all because here's the thing. A couple of years ago, I posted a video all about this book. I basically went through the entire book on that video, so I encourage you to seek it out, to seek that out on my channel. Look for Jack Kirby Masterworks. You'll find it easily, and just kind of find out what all is in this book. But it's Jack Kirby Masterworks, published by Privateer Press in 1979. It's a great piece. This one can run you anywhere from $50 to $100. I've seen it higher. I've also seen it lower. But again, it's like anything else. It's like a lot of other collector's items. If you're patient and if you're vigilant, okay, you can come across one, most likely in your budget eventually. All right, patience and vigilance. Okay, I have to believe that Jack Kirby was patient and vigilant. We know he had a great work ethic. We know he put up with a lot in his career. Soft-spoken, not a big talker. Even though there's stories about him, there's a legend about him acting kind of tough with an actual organized crime figure in the early days of comic book publishing. But who knows if that's true or not. But anyway, just a little bit about Jack Kirby. A couple of items you might want to include in your collection if you don't have them, and if you do, go back and revisit them. These are some of those books that every time I go back and look at again, it's almost like you find something new. But it's just a great time. They're all a great time. Now the family has just gotten home, so I'm going to go ahead and sign off. Subscribe if you haven't. Like the video, comment on the video, share the video. But thanks for watching 4Color Commentary, and we'll see you next time.